This psalm is to the tune of The Lily of the Covenant. It's glorious to think that these tunes, while lost by humanity, are not lost by God. And one day, no doubt, we will hear this tune, and we will sing this tune in the life that is to come. It's written by David, and it's written, look at this, for teaching. Now, we learn from all of the Psalms, but this was written with that intent in mind, that others would read it and learn how to think, how to pray in times of crisis. This is theology shaped by battle and grief and leadership pressure, and written down for the benefit of others. It seems to have been written around the time of 2 Samuel chapter 8, where David was expanding his territory and fighting against Aram in the north and Edom in the south. And it seems that things on the battlefield had not been going well at all. It ends with Joab returning, having struck down 12,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. So the story ends well, and the psalm itself reflects that. But it starts with real uncertainty and sorrow about the state of the army and the progress of the battle. You have rejected us, God, and burst upon us. You have been angry. Now restore us. You have shaken the land and torn it open. Mend its fractures, for it is quaking. This is alarmingly direct, isn't it? David doesn't soften the blow with theological niceties or attempt to dress up his cries and complaints with nice flowery language. He says, look, God, when we win, it's because you fought for us. And when we lose, it's because you have abandoned us. And so why? Why have you left us? Why have you allowed us to endure such difficulty? It's a strange thing, perhaps, for us to read David speaking to God like this. But notice, as we have done with several psalms before, that David is at least speaking to God. And that alone shows a level of understanding and maturity and faith that he has. Still, don't miss not just the complaint, but the cry of verse 1. Now restore us, he prays. He is still going to God. He is still telling the truth to him. He is still seeking salvation, and he still trusts that God can do it. In verse 4, David speaks about the faithful people of God, those who still fear him and look for him and seek his face. But for those who fear you, he writes, you have raised a banner to be unfurled against the bow. The banner in a war context would orient you. Imagine having a vicious hand-to-hand combat scenario with an enemy soldier or a group and somehow coming out of it alive, and you have a moment or two to catch your breath. You need to know where your men are, and so you look up and you see the banner, and you know that there you will find safety. David says that God is like that rallying point. He is the one that we run to, and as individuals running to him from all over the place, we find each other gathered there. And so he writes, save us and help us with your right hand, that those you love may be delivered. While crying out for deliverance here, David rejoices that God has decisively spoken. God has spoken from his sanctuary. In triumph, I will pass out Shechem and measure off the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine and Manasseh is mine. Ephraim is my helmet. Judah is my scepter. Moab is my wash basin. It's not very flattering, is it? But if you know your biblical history, you'll know what the Moabites are like. On Edom I toss my sandal. Over Philistia I shout in triumph. These are the enemies that have risen up against the Israelites in the promised land. But they are under his rule. They serve his purposes. They are like furniture in his house. Here's the helpful thing to hold on to. Even when it feels like things are going wrong, actually, they are still on track according to God's sovereignty. He will bless his people. He will glorify his name. God is never taken off guard or sent off track. God is completely in control, and these enemy nations actually serve him. At the end of the psalm, we have another cry for help and another confident statement in God's ability to save. Give us aid against the enemy, David says, for human help is worthless. We need something supernatural here, and that is your department, God, he says. And then with God, we will gain the victory, and he will trample down our enemies. Evidently, shortly after the writing of this psalm and the pouring out of David's heart, Joab returned having struck down 12,000 Edomites in the Valley of Salt. Now, we mentioned at the beginning that this psalm was designed to teach. So what exactly does it teach us? Several things. But firstly, honest complaint is not incompatible with genuine faith. Perhaps too often we think that God is really pleased with flowery language or the presentation of perfect understanding. But he knows when we are confused. He knows when we are in pain. He knows the questions of our heart. How much more honoring then to actually bring them to God? That's what David does here. Secondly, this psalm reminds us that God's purposes are not derailed when we face a measure of defeat. God is still in control. And when chaos seems to surround us, we look to the banner of our faith, the one who is lifted up that all men might see him. We run to him. And there we find strength to carry on. There we find soldiers who march alongside us in the spiritual battles of life. There we regather our strength and we trust in God's sovereignty as we continue to serve him. With God we will gain the victory, the psalmist says. And the same is true for us. The victory won by Christ is given to us as a gift and will not be taken away.